Welcome to Warblog. Today I'm going to speak really close into the microphone because my audio doesn't seem to be particularly good. I don't know how close I'll have to speak, and I'll also just give an advance warning that Mexico and Germany are at war, and Mexico has just scored a country, and so there's quite a lot of activity. You might hear some airstrikes or some small arms fire or some artillery explosions in the background. Maybe, maybe not, it depends really. I mean, you know, Germany never were very good, so I doubt they'll equalise. Anyway, there's only a few minutes of that left. So what I'm going to do here is just have a quick blast through this Hudaydah whilst trying to speak right into the microphone. So basically it's just sort of more of the Yemen civil war, only they're approaching Hudaydah up here, and got a whole bunch of troops down here. The only thing to sort of point out here is I've used a little bit of artistic license. It does say they've got some. I was just reading actually just before I did this, and I wasn't actually going to add this, but I thought, well, I might as well because it's fairly key. But the South Front is reporting that I mean, it's not just South Front. It's according to Le Figaro, French Special Force operators are operating alongside the UAE military. So it probably means they're sort of more in an advisor role, but I've given them a company there, you know, and I sort of thought, well, if I was to be using special forces, I might be using them for the more discreet sort of clearing up these sorts of things, protecting these sort of flanks from insurgent, you know, activity. But they're there and they're pretty tough, you know, special forces. So I'm just going to actually plunk this into the WhatsApp. So I'm just watching a replay on that German offensive there, and they're not very good, these Germans. And, sorry, I just sort of really wondering whether the Mexicans are going to invade Bolivia now. I don't think so. It's nearly half time as well. I don't think they've got much time for that. Anyway, so essentially what we got is obviously the front line there, and obviously they're moving up to Hudaydah, and they're not really going to have much of a problem doing it. So I'm just going to really sort of plod through it. We've got some sort of fortified areas here, and they will get some reinforcements here at some point, and also a few from here, and possibly from here, I don't know. But basically we get some reinforcements. Also reinforcements along here. This is a constant source for irregulars coming onto the board, so it could be somewhere for the special forces to maybe sort of try and contain that area. But I'm just going to sort of give it a go. I mean, I don't want to play it all the way through, I just want to sort of give the introductory video to it really. But there's quite a lot in here, but the thing is there's one infantry and irregulars. Here we've got another stack of irregulars. Same thing, one infantry, 3 irregulars in each one of these. But when you actually look through these, they're pretty tough. You know, you could sort of have one of these battle groups go up against that. You could have this go up against these two with this coming in to join it. They're not really going to hold. And I think more to the point, these units are not going to sort of be able to really counter-attack. I mean, these stacks are just too big. They could even have, you know, they could split it up into, you know, into 3 stacks, you know, maybe they only want to do it in 2. In there, they could definitely get their 2 stacks, and they'd be pretty much invincible. The only other thing to sort of mention is that these are 113 units, and these are 117s. I give them 117s. I don't usually give a 7 movement, but I do when I think it. You know, they should have an extra bit of an advantage. That's what that represents. Doesn't mean they've got faster vehicles. They're more familiar with the terrain. They're more adept to using their vehicles in that area as opposed to these, which are just regular troops. You know, it signifies an advantage. But you'll also see that the special forces have that. So that gives these units a lot more mobility in these sort of open desert areas, in comparison to these, which probably have to follow the road up as they retreat if they're going to actually get anywhere. Although they can move quite fast themselves through desert. These can move stupendously fast. So I really don't know how to sort of figure this thing through. It seems very similar to the last one that I did further south, when you can take this one out quite quickly and these, and then just sort of flank up here. But we've got this screening force here to stop an easy flank, but it still doesn't mean you can't flank it. But I imagine that they will get quite tough because you've got a lot of units in here, but they're not all there for the defence. They're there partly because that's your reserve. It's not your strategic reserve because you get reinforcements that come on elsewhere. And so you know what you do with those in the early stages is sort of your choice. It's not as though they've got any paratroops or sea landing capabilities, which is a bit odd really, because you would have thought, and I've also thought this, you know, why don't you use more air mobile units, even paratroopers? I mean, there's no paratroopers being used in any of these events. You know, why not? But what about, you know, what about great naval landings? Why don't they just land loads of troops here and cut off all these? I think part and parcel of that is that it's not a conventional war and they don't have conventional supply lines, so these irregulars are probably not supplied from anywhere. You know, that's one of the things about irregulars, I would guess. You know, maybe if I were to bring supply rules into play, you know, I'd sort of you know, actually make them free of supply, which would give them another advantage in the sense of what they are. But you know, so that's sort of pretty much that. Essentially, I mean, as I said, you don't really have to worry too much about these being, you know, this being weak in the early stages, because you will see this line advance north. I don't really know how to sort of start this, so I think I'm just going to try and take this. I think my strategy in general, I'm not going to play it all the way through, but I'm going to play a part of it, is to sort of go up against this, and I don't know, I think this line has got to go like that, and it's got to sort of push these units back like that, but I sort of feel compelled somehow to sort of maybe push some of these units in this sort of direction here, to maybe sort of, I don't know, to encourage them to retreat earlier, and then to possibly come around. In fact, it's the same sort of strategy that I had before, really. You know, you could use these special forces to do that. So I think what I'm going to do in the first instance is these units are going to basically go up against that. I don't know why he's on his own, but he can join in with that. These units are going to try and do this. So this section, we've got 2 fronts here. One there. Okay. So that's how I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to play the first turn through because, I don't know, there's lots of kids shouting outside the house. I keep telling them to go away. They keep laughing at me. So, they're all pretty much the same size. This one's in a town, these are in villages. So this town, I think we're going to do an airstrike on this. I want to save my helicopters because they do tend to get shot down. I mean, that was quite a nice result. So I think that really gives me the sort of the impetus to actually move in there. Now, what are they going to be? They're going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's going to be 1.5, I think, for the town. But they're all dug in, so it's going to be 5, doubled, tripled for their entrenchments, or doubled. What is entrenchments? I don't know. I can never remember. I think we're just going to have to put everything against that. Yeah, I can do that. Go into my artillery, and there should be some more artillery, and some more artillery, and let's put in a full offensive here. 3-1 DR. So that was, I think, pretty well played actually. So we push them back, giving them a nice clear line like that. I really don't want to leave the artillery completely alone. I'm going to leave that guy, well, I'm going to leave the rest of this stack as it is. Yeah, and I think we've got at least something that we can try here. And we've taken out one unit, and I think the rest has retreated because they're irregulars, so one into there presumably and one into there. I think we can hold that ground now. We've got a little bit of movement left there, but I don't think it's enough to be able to sort of do anything. So that's that front all sorted as we sort of needed. Now here, I just don't think they're really going to be too challenging. Let's move. He can't move because he was artillery and he fired, so he partook in that assault over there. That's it. Well, what I'm going to do. I want this attack to work in the first instance. Now that's going to be a 3-1. I want to get a DR. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to push him straight in there at a 3-1. Unfortunately, it failed. So we're going to come in here, trying essentially the same strategy. DE, so that basically forced them to move in that direction. This is what I hope to do in the other attack, just to start that ball rolling. DE, so let's push them back again. I don't think we've got any more movement. No. So now that was a bit of a pain. What I'm going to do is, these French special forces are really going to have to sort of like demonstrate their worth now. Okay, well, we've got a 1 on that. which is good. We should still have a bit more movement though, so they've been pushed back at 3. Another DE, pushing them back to there, and we might have some more movement on that. Movement 1, I don't think that's going to be enough. Oh, it is, but not enough to actually engage in attack. I mean, it wasn't that important or significant a reason, but I really don't want to give him the opportunity to somehow get down and attack my artillery. I mean, I don't think it would be sensible. Certainly, well, it wouldn't be sensible at all, really. So anyway, that's the first turn. We haven't used our helicopters because I don't want to start losing them, but I could use them against these sorts of units because they're not really going to put up much of a defence. It's just I don't want to put my helicopters against big stacks because they get so much sort of ground to air, flak, so to speak. So there was a bit of a sort of failure here on the advance. I should have not used the artillery over here so that I could move it and keep the artillery there, and he actually failed in his. So because of that, I had to sort of really try and sort of use this to push him back to there. That's what I was trying to do. So if he'd won, he would have gone to there. Then I would have used my special forces to come in and push him to there, and then to there. So he'd be one further back, making it even harder for him to come and get my artillery, etc., etc. But I'm just going to sort of try and speed things up and just get through one more turn on the Houthi side. Now again, I don't think there's much really in it. It's just really a case of determining what sort of what the situation is and how the best way to deal with it would be. I've obviously got a lot of units down here. We've got some artillery, got 2 lots of artillery in there. Now artillery is always nice because they can't afford to be sat under a rain of artillery for too long. So we could sort of almost push our front line back forward and then just really see what we can do with our artillery on this stack here. I mean, this would be quite a good stack to go for because there's 4 elements in there. So we've got 2 little units up here. So they can move 2. He's going to stay there to recover. He's going to stay to recover. Ideally, he'd want to recover. Just going to push him there. Push him there. Push him over there. I just want to make it slow because I want to spend as much time as possible bringing artillery down on their advance. Not brilliant. See, I definitely can't counter-attack. I mean, what would that be? I mean, it's too big a stack. To be quite honest, I'm not really thinking straight. But 2.5, so that's quite nice on that. 2.7, 1.6, nothing. Not brilliant. But the thing is, it's damage that they'll have to either stop to recover, and obviously he's got too much to recover. 2.6 is permanently damaged 0.6. Or to advance, and if I can keep that up, we stand a chance of getting eliminations through morale checks and even just general eliminations. But getting those morale checks is quite useful. They can't afford to push advance whilst increasing their depression factors because they might rout. Simple as that, really. So just making it slow as possible. We've lost 1 unit, but I think we can expect that. Obviously, it's down here; it's a bit difficult, so we push these units to sort of try and counter that. We've got artillery and air defence in there. So here's our sort of initial reserve. this is sort of basically, this is one of the reasons they're sort of stacked there. I mean, obviously you could do a number of things with them. You could push them back into, you know, if you chose to, you could push them back into here and prepare a defensive line across there. You know, we could have used these instead of coming down here. We could have pushed them along here and created a defensive line there, and pushed these along here to create a defensive line here, and just pushed all this back as far as possible. But we haven't done that. I think what I'm more inclined to do is to push the defensive line forward, and to push these forward, and then to force them to force us back, giving whatever reinforcements that come in time to sort of build up, and then to push that line forward, but to eventually build a line across here, but then maybe just around here, you know, like that, and to fall back on Hudaydah as is happening. Now, this is the strategic port because it's where they're getting a lot of their supplies from, and it's their last remaining port for the Houthis. It's quite sort of controversial in the sense that, you know, they're saying that they won't be able to get humanitarian aid through that port anymore, etc., etc. So it seems that, you know, whilst a lot of the other ones have been sort of more tactical, this is a more strategic battle in the sense that Hudaydah is a strategic objective, because it's a significant large port. But what I haven't put in here, but there have been sort of reports on, are the sort of number of refugees and you know, people that live in there, a couple of million, I think. I'm not sure really, but I haven't put them in there because they haven't actually even got there yet. But it's just like any other city. Obviously, we know that there's implicit sort of implications of people actually living in them, as opposed to a lot of this battle where it's happening out in the open. Just putting these as tentative advances. So we've still got a little bit of movement left there. I want to leave him to recover. Well, that's good. Just want to extend that line over a bit. But I'm going to leave it at that because I'm a bit preoccupied. Call it half time. But I think that would be quite an interesting game, and it'd be interesting to see how this sort of pans out. You know, so if you think that, you know, you can take Hudaydah out, you know, efficiently and all of that, then sign up and give it a blast. I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.